YouTube friends, this is Elizabeth J with an S, and today I want to do a follow-up video to for my devotional bullet journal. This is the beginning of February, and I've been utilizing my spreads for a month, and I just thought I would do a follow-up video and talk about what worked, what didn't work, how this bullet journal is working for me, etc. This is a citrus book bindery, chunky, wide bullet journal. The paper that I got is 140 GSM, and there's 264 pages in this bullet journal. And I really like Citrus Book Bindery for the number of options that they have for their covers. So I really liked this cover, and so that's why I picked it. I'm a science teacher, so I kind of felt it was like in line with my interests. It has gotten a little bit smudged, and I think this has to do with some of the stamping, so I'm going to try to use a baby wipe to wipe that off. I don't actually really use these elastic holder. I usually just, this kind of just stays at home. I don't really carry it around with me anywhere, on my craft cart with my pens and things, so, unless I'm using it, obviously. I don't really use the elastic. I also discovered, because this is so thick, that the page markers, the strips that they provide, these 3 colored ones, which are really nice, by the way, they don't really hold very well at the beginning of the journal. So basically what I had done was I had set up a reflection, I set up my month with a quote, and then I just went into my devotional spreads and sort of my keeping track of my prayer things, and that's just how I had set up the whole entire month. Now, as I was using the bullet journal, because this is a lay flat and it has an open spine, this is what happened. And now Citrus Book Bindery has already addressed this issue on their Facebook page. They have stopped making the wide and chunky bullet journals in this particular style, so they have dealt with the issue. But I mean, obviously I paid for the thing, I'm not going to stop using it, so I needed to come up with sort of an alternative method so the thing is not going to fall apart on me this year. So what I tried to do at first was to actually strengthen the stitching and sew my own thread through, but that really did not work for me. So my second option was to look for a clear cover that I could use on this bullet journal, and I have found one. I'm waiting for it to be delivered. This is a B5 size, so it's not the typical size bullet journal, which is fine. I found like a clear silicone cover that would fit very tightly, so that way it would all be held together. So when I have that on, I'll post a video on that so you can see what it looks like, probably at the end of February when I do my next follow-up video. Anyway, so let's talk about how this worked for me. Now, if you watched my first video, you'll know that I use a daily devotional to kind of give me a jumping off point to start on my reflections for each day. And this year I am using a devotional that takes readings from the Chronicles of Narnia, and then kind of gives you sort of open-ended questions that you can then respond to. And that is called A Year with Aslan, and I just have it online, so that's what I'm using. And as you can see, I have been quite consistent. In fact, I was able to do it every single day, which is something that is a real achievement for me. So I set up my February, again, same kind of, just a small little monthly calendar with a little stamping action, just so there's some color in there. And I found an ink and a pen that had the same color. So that was really exciting. And my quote for this month is from Elizabeth Elliot: "If you believe in a God who controls the big things, you have to believe in a God who controls the little things," which is so true. Sometimes I feel like in one case or the other, I maybe have some doubts, and of course I shouldn't, but I think we're all human and those doubts creep in. So I did make a few changes. Here you can see the size of the spreads that I put in for my daily reflections. The borders were quite wide, and I found myself running over or trying to squeeze things in, and so I increased those borders a bit so I have some more space to write. I also realized that despite my big handwriting, the amount of space the number of lines that I have to write is quite limiting with this size. And I don't know if you can see it, but it is a 0.7 centimeter or 7 millimeter gap between my dots. And so that actually reduces the number of lines on each page. So I already know for next year, I'm going to just go back to the standard 5 millimeter dot, and I'll just deal with my handwriting. I'll just write smaller, that's all. So that's one change that I made for the amount of space that I have to actually write in my reflections. The other change that I made was to the way I had sort of set up my different prayer sections. So instead of squeezing my sort of reflection in worship on God's character into such a small space, I decided to spread it out, and now I have one long line for each day of the week. And then my Thanksgiving box is increased by several lines and width as well. So there was that too, because I found myself sort of towards the end of the week having to like skip it or squeeze it in somewhere because I had run out of space. I mean, I guess that's a good thing for Thanksgiving if you have more things to be thankful for than less. And then I also changed my sort of extended prayer for the extended part of my life. Obviously work is staying there, Kenya where I live is staying there, and then I decided to combine USA where my family lives, where I was born, and then the world beyond into one box, so that way I could go back to having a student of the day that I prayed for every day of the working week. I would have a student that I would pray for, and just kind of something about them that I think that I perceived maybe they needed prayer for. So I really missed that in the month of January, so I decided to reincorporate that back in to February. And then again, because I extended I made my borders smaller, I was able to have more space for family and friends, just prayer in general for those groups of people. And then the soul dump, I really like this. It's just very, normally I do it at the very end of my devotional time. So it's either an extension on the sort of response to the devotional, or maybe it's a response to the verse that I connected to the devotional. But I really find myself filling in those pages. Let me just show you. So there's one. This one is for this week, and I haven't even finished the week, and you can see I only have one line left. So I don't know what's going to happen for tomorrow, which is Sunday. Anyway, basically what I do at the end of the month is I read through all of this, because this is really like now my thoughts, just very honestly with God, and then I can go back and do my reflection, which I have these 5 questions that I reflect on for the entire month. What did I learn last month? Who or what is encouraging me? What is challenging me? How am I growing? And what do I need to focus on? So I think what I've learned for this month is I need, for my focus going forward, is more silence in my prayer conversations, I guess. More silence so I can listen more. I think that's really more of, because it's been a lot of me talking about how I'm feeling and my questions and all of that. but I find myself not listening. So I think that's what I'll try to now incorporate into my devotions for February. Obviously, there's no spread for that. It's just being in silence for a small period of time. Yeah, I'm excited to be going into a new month, new color, new amount of space. So my only disappointment, like I said, with this particular journal is this gap between the sets of pages that they have sewn in. And it is there for all of them, unfortunately. So I'm not really sure. I guess I want to see how things go with this bullet journal. I mean, I really do love the fact that there is such a selection of colors and themes that you could do. I do have other Citrus Bookbindery products. I have their Citradori Traveler's Notebook that I use for my school, my lesson planning, and that sort of thing. And I've already picked out the one I'm going to use for next year, so that's exciting. So I'm still kind of I'm kind of waiting to see a little bit more into the year, how it goes, what's the feedback on their new binding for something this wide, and then I'll go from there. I'll know what I'll do for my next year's devotional bullet journal. But right now, this is what I'm using. I'm really enjoying it. It's kind of become just not a routine, but not routine, if that makes sense. Anyway, if you'd like to follow me on Instagram, my handle is Elizabeth J with an S, same as it is on YouTube. Please do subscribe, give me a thumbs up, give me a comment, and if you do a devotional bullet journal, I would love to know what you do, or just put your YouTube handle in the comments below, and then I would love to check you out and see what you're doing for yours. So if you are interested in more bullet journal stuff, please do subscribe to my channel, and I will see you around next time.